All right, welcome back on another episode of Football Fan Zone. Today I have Uzo here with me. What's going on, bro?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. 2 weeks away from the start of the season, so hopefully our weekends can finally have meaning again.
Yeah, we're almost there, man. So what have you been up to? What have you been filling up the time with without meaningful football?
Yeah, in the meantime, it's been the Olympics, which surprisingly has been pretty eventful so far. Um, I think some of the preseason games have been interesting to watch as well because of all the turnover with new management. And then I think, forgive me, I don't know how accurate this is because I haven't done the research, but this has to be one of the slowest transfer windows we've had in
I think so.
pretty long time.
I think so. Yeah, I think so too.
Like, because we've been kind of spoiled, and it's interesting because I'm saying this in a whole Kylian Mbappe switch teams, but it almost feels like that was like years in the making. So the impact doesn't really feel like, oh, it was this summer window that happened, and no one else has really made a move even half as impactful as that. So yeah, it's been a very slow window. So all we have to focus on is the football, and thankfully, a lot of the preseason games have actually been quite exciting. Teams are trying things. So there's been a decent amount of stuff to get involved with and get distracted with. This is usually the worst time for sports fans because, I mean, thank God for the Olympics because usually the NBA is done, the NFL is out of season, football's out of season, everything is out of season.
Yeah,
around that August end of July August range is usually the worst time for all sports fans. So the Olympics has really been a huge help in allowing a bit of a distraction, but who knows? Maybe that's why the transfers have been slow anyways, because there's been
I think the Mbappe thing actually is one of the reasons why, because it was free. It was a free transfer. I think if money at exchange ends, there might
it would
be
have
more.
trickled down, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't know because PSG are going to spend that kind of money regardless. These are the same guys who pretty much spend about 400 million combined on Mbappe and Neymar. So.
That was supposed to be the best transfer of all time. Remember that Fabrizio tweets where they had what's his name? Donnarumma. Who else did they have? They had Ramos.
Sergio Ramos.
Yeah.
No, well, I think Sergio Ramos came the window after though.
Oh, okay.
Because he came right before Messi, or maybe in the same window as Messi, actually. The Mbappe window was, I remember Donnarumma, of course, yeah, but PSG, man, I don't know. Like, you can't really say it's not a success because they've been relevant. They've been winning their league. They've racked up all of the domestic accolades that they can possibly imagine.
Yeah.
It was like judging them based on one competition feels very, very harsh to say like, oh, it wasn't a success. And you're getting guys on podiums, on Ballon podiums. You're sweeping your national domestic titles. What more could they realistically have done besides winning the Champions League? You got to a Champions League final. I don't know. I kind of feel for them, but I don't because, sports watching.
I don't actually.
Coming from a Chelsea fan, that's rich.
Well, yeah. I think that's a good segue to talk about. I wanted to ask about your moments. What moment you liked the most in the Olympics? We're talking off cam about the 100-meter final before we get into football, or it might be even football.
Well, right. Spain had an insane comeback against the Colombian women's national team in the quarterfinals of the in the quarterfinals of the women's soccer tournament. So that was pretty cool. The thing about the Spain women's team is they just have that thing that the Real Madrid men's team have, which is like that inevitability. They were down 2-0. and you just knew that they were going to find a way to win this game. And they came back, they scored. I think they scored in the 4th minute, and then they tied the game in the 90 plus like 4. And then they went on to win on penalties, but they're looking pretty good. I thought Trinity Rodman for the U.S. women, her goal was absolutely insane. I recently found out that she's actually Dennis Rodman's.
Oh yeah.
I know that. So apparently the rest of the world knew that. I didn't know that. I always thought like she's such a saucy dribbler, like really flashy, and now it makes sense. But
I don't think they were really involved though. I mean, like as
apparently he's a deadbeat, so
yeah.
I'm obligated to say, shame on you, Dennis Rodman. You're that, to me, there's nothing worse in life than a deadbeat parent. I think that's the one thing that you have no excuse for. Like you have no excuse, zero. So yeah, shame on him, but shame on him for a variety of things, right? Let's not get into that. But besides the soccer, of course, I think the main kind of like talking point this week has been the athletics, and specifically the 100-meter race, both the men and women's. Huge shout out to Julian Alfred, putting a smile on the faces of St. Lucians. I remember I grew up in Florida, and one of my favorite aunts back then was from St. Lucia. And they're really, really sweet. I don't think I've met a person from St. Lucia that's not like super sweet. The island is named after like one of the few, I think it's the only country in the world that's named after a woman. So that and I don't want to, get into gender stereotypes or anything, but they kind of have that temperament, that niceness. Like they're generally good people. So it was nice to see. I saw some of the videos of like the fans going crazy, and like you don't realize how big that is for a nation to win not just its first gold medal, but its first medal, period. She's going to be sang and talked and idolized about for years and generations to come. And she's not even done. She could still sweep the 200s as well. So, but the men's 100-meter final, wow, absolute barnstormer. And I saw a clip floating online of Usain Bolt talking to the current Olympic gold medalist, Noah Lyles, and telling him that he wants him to keep that attitude. He said, I like this attitude. I want you to keep that no matter what. He was like, it makes the sport interesting. It makes it entertaining. You need to do this for the division. And I think people will never understand how important it is to have a villain until everybody's kumbaya. One of the biggest things last season, what was one of the biggest complaints about City? They're so boring. No one hates them. They don't have any true rights.
That's the thing I always said too. That's the thing we said. Yeah.
No one is selling out to, like, no one will ever play City the way Everton played Klopp in his last trip to Goodison. That's because like the hatred is not, it's not genuine.
I think it's done. I think in the top level, especially in the Premier League, I don't think there's hatred anymore. I don't think we'll ever get.
No, I think there are teams that still genuinely hate each other. There are.
I think so. Maybe bar Liverpool and Manchester United, and it's not close. Like the competition hasn't been close for years. So,
I mean, to be fair, this season you can say United got the best of Liverpool. They derailed them in the FA Cup. They took points off them both times in the league, so they didn't lose to them at all this season. But you never live down 7-0. So there's literally nothing you can do to live that down. It's etched in the history books for life. But I'll say, like, even the Chelsea Spurs game, there was a lot of hatred. You guys arguably derailed our season.
Oh yeah,
I think our players were more hateful than needed.
Poch and Ange, man.
Yeah, bro. Two nice guys. And if there's anything I can say about Maresca, I feel like he looks like a right bastard. He does. I was texting one of my Chelsea friends. I was like, another guy that I just cannot stand. And when I think about it, like really, really deeply, he's the one who started all of the chaos in the first fixture. Is Levi Colwill. I think he's a true bastard. But you need true bastards. It's like, I would never expect a Chelsea fan to not like Levi Colwill, ever. I would be shocked if you don't like him, because those are the kind of players you absolutely love to have in your team. In the same way, I'm not surprised when rivals don't like a guy like Romero, or a guy like Destiny, who was also someone who was in the thick of things during that whole melee. But people don't realize, like, Levi Cole is literally one who, like, he's the one who got fouled by Destiny, and then he tried to stamp on Romero, he missed, and then Romero kicked out at him. And that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
That was the beginning of the end. And what was the first thing what kicked off the Maresca era? Levi Colwill trying to disrobe. Fair enough, James McClain, he's not the greatest person ever, but this is the kind of bastards you need in the sport to really make it exciting. So, back to the 100-meter race, you need a guy like Noah Lyles. You need someone to hate. You need someone to root against. You need someone that's going to have eyeballs. That was the most anticipation I've ever seen for a race since the Asafa Powell and Usain Bolt and Justin Gatlin races way back in the Tyson Gay, those guys, way, way, way back in the day, right? This race felt like, wow, you don't want to lose this one. And that's a good feeling. And they're all young, 23, 23. They're going to have this rivalry, and it's going to be an ongoing thing. I'm sure Seville, I'm sure he's not going to go down without a fight. He's going to be embarrassed. He's going to feel like, this guy trolled me on Twitter. Then he pulled up and I got last place. He won gold. You can't tell me like 4 years is not going to be enough time for him to sit and fester in that and come back, 26, 27, ready to absolutely redeem himself. So these are the kinds of things that make the sport even more exciting to watch. So shout out to Olympics for real. It has really captured my my imagination. So
yeah, for sure. I haven't had time to catch up much about the Olympics, but I watched like the Super Falcons. I catch the game against Spain. I thought that was a good battle. Obviously, it was inevitable. Spain were always going to win, but I thought that was a good matchup for sure. I was a little bit disappointed in the other games. I felt like against Brazil, they were there for the taking. I mean, I don't know how strong Brazil has been over the years, but just that game to me felt like it was open. And I felt like we should have taken our chances, especially in first half. But yeah, away from that and to the preseason, I like to start with Liverpool. Liverpool seemed like the upward trajectory. They had that win against Man United. I saw some parts of the game. I didn't see the full game, but a lot of Manchester United fans said the results didn't do justice to the game because they felt they played better than the results. And in general, I've been paying attention to Liverpool fans. Your boy Ovo seems to be very, very optimistic. He's excited about
Ovo is just happy, and I hope he watches this. I need the admin to
this get
Ovo. Ovo is only happy as long as Curtis Jones is getting the love and the admiration. Because Curtis Jones has spoke up in favor of Arne Slot, I already know Ovo is beaming ear to ear. If you ask him right now who's going to be Young Player of the Year, he's probably going to tell you that it's going to be Curtis Jones.
Even Player of the Year.
Curtis Jones might be like 30, and he might still be picking the guy for a pause on that. He might still be picking the guy for a Young Player of the Year. Ovo, get over your obsession with Curtis, man. He ain't the Scouse Ronaldinho. He's just some guy. But in all fairness, Arne Slot is cooking for sure. They've looked really good in the preseason, and to think that that's not even anywhere close to the starting 11, and to think that they haven't done any business at all in the window, and they possibly could. I wouldn't rule out, them going after. I know they have been very soft sprinkling links with Ederson from Atalanta, which I think would be a fantastic signing. But yeah, of course, I'm glancing at Liverpool because I had them outside of the top four. But I think this is where people say it's just preseason, but nah, let's be honest. It tells you a lot about at least the range of where a team can expect to set their ambitions, going into the season. So, and it's not just about the results because, City haven't been winning games until they met the London Cowboys, but they haven't been winning games prior to that. But we can still see the young players are cooking. We're seeing the identity is still there. We know you plug in the right pieces, which are all coming back, and they're going to be cooking again. So,
yeah. And Salah looks fitter than ever. He looks really hungry. Like it feels like he has something to prove, which
my agenda on this club guy, remember I said if I speak today, there will be fire. I'm just saying, he looks like he's relieved. A weight is off his shoulder. He's a free man. He has been released from the shackles of that dictator with the yellow teeth. But he looks like he's in the tail end of his prime, of course. But those are the most dangerous players, right? Because you don't know if it's 1 year or 2 or 3, but you just know like those last few meaningful years are going to be absolutely high level because they know this is it. And I think someone like Salah, I'm anticipating that World Cup with Egypt might be his last if they qualify, of course. So I imagine like a lot of players are looking at that 2-year range of, you know what, I got to be at the top of my game until 2026. So I'm going to be looking at guys like him, even a guy like KDB. The fact that he's not going to Saudi just yet, I'm thinking 2026 has to be in a lot of these guys' minds. Lukaku, if he ends up getting the move to Napoli, I feel like he can have a resurgent season, getting reunited with Conte. So there's a lot of guys I'm looking out for that are in that 30 to 35 range, and just seeing what they're willing to do this season. And Salah is definitely at the top of that list.
It'll be interesting to see Nunes's development this season on the slots, and Gakpo as well. I'll be tuning into that for sure.
I think Gakpo is the one for sure. I think building off of that Euros, Dutch coach who understands him, possibly has played against him in the past, knows how to get out his strengths. I wouldn't be surprised to see him carry on the form that he really seemed to pick up a lot of confidence at the Euros, and that kind of stuff is important. And that's the exact opposite of what Mudryk picked up, which would have been very important for someone like him. Is if he would have gone to Ukraine and absolutely balled out the way Gakpo did, could have came back into the season with a bit of optimism, but that wasn't the case. So.
Yeah. Let's talk about Spurs. I haven't paid attention too much to your preseason. I know you guys played Bayern and you lost. I think I saw a clip where Andrew was saying, you don't get points for preseason games, and it's looking at other things. So let's talk to us about how you feel. What's the preparation like? Are you confident that going into the season, it's looking like, or are you expecting to have a similar start to last season?
Oh, no way. There's no way. I think that was lightning in a bottle. But it's rare for teams to get, like, Arsenal got that same start 2 seasons ago and rode it all the way to a title challenge. They came back the next season and they didn't have that start. Neither did City. City hasn't had that kind of start almost in their entire period of dominance. Liverpool had that start. They walked the league. It's rare. It's lightning in a bottle. We were absolutely flying, and be it injuries or getting figured out, whatever it was, the season got derailed. I don't envision that. And I don't think any Spurs fan would be looking at that as the standard anyway. So what preseason has done is it's really highlighted how exciting the young players are. And for me, that's good enough, especially being that we're freshly back in Europe. We're in the Europa League, which is a league with 2 additional games now where we're going to get the chance to really, really see what our young and French players are really all about. We've gotten rid of almost all of the deadwood. I think right now, guys like Skip, Emerson, and maybe
Ben Davies?
Solomon. No, Ben Davies is he's not really regarded as deadwood because he can kind of do a job. A lot of Spurs fans might feel differently about that, but I've never viewed him as that. But a lot of the French players are on the way out. So it's not going to be like, oh, in Europa, we're playing these guys that have no future here. It's going to be guys who are young, hungry, have something to prove, and hopefully we can kind of see what they're about. So I was excited about preseason. I said this last episode, so I'm not even backtracking here. If we were playing better teams, I think we would have been losing a lot as well. We have had no center backs report back to camp. Romero wasn't back. Van de Ven wasn't back. We've been playing Emerson Royale and Archie Gray as center back. Dragusin, I think, recently just came back into the team. So do I think that, am I scared that all the chances were given up and the fact that we lost I'm not really concerned about that. We don't have anywhere near the defense that we're going to have when the season starts. And what I wanted to see was just how are we implementing new styles, new systems, how are players getting along with each other. And I think so far it's been 10 out of 10. We still need to do some business, and I'm hearing some soft links, but I think it's all going to be about how much business we do. And that's the same for like about 5 or 6 teams going into this season. How much business do you get done in this next month? And that'll tell you where you're going to finish or what kind of range you're going to be challenging and come the season starts. So, but for me, preseason has been a revelation because I always enjoy watching our kids way more than I enjoy watching the first team.
Yeah, especially in preseason, man. To me, preseason, it's not that deep. I mean, it's like you said, you need the momentum. It shows you a couple things, but I like to see the young guys get some minutes preseason. Yeah, moving on to another team that we spoke about last week, Manchester United. Obviously, they lost again to their actual rivals, Liverpool, 3-0 this time. They've been playing with a lot of injuries. Man, I won't like to be a Manchester United fan now. I mean, never wanted to be a Manchester, but I mean, they lost their new signing. They lost their number 9, and it's looking. I mean, it's kind of like a mixed bag because you could say they've had a player that I regard as the best player of the preseason so far in Ahmad. Like, he's been really exciting. It feels like he has something to prove.
I think Oscar Bob might have something to say about that best player of the preseason title.
I mean, I think it can be close. I
don't think it's close.
You don't think so?
By far. He's just been the best player I've watched this entire preseason, personally. But Ahmad did look very, very dangerous. I will say that for sure.
Yeah. And it's just I wish we had a Manchester United fan here just to see how they're thinking. Is it maybe you've spoken to any of them? Should they be concerned? Is this worrying, especially with the injuries as well and the results that they've had? Or do you still think that it's still just, don't think too much about it? It's not that deep too as well.
The beautiful thing is we're going to have one of the most, I wouldn't say controversial, but one of the most interesting United fans on next week. And I think I don't want to expose some of his sentiments because I've spoken with him, so I know what he's going to say. And I don't want to take his shine. But from a rival perspective, I've thought that United, their one advantage going into the season was continuity. And you know me, I've been preaching about continuity since last season. And that was why I was adamantly against Chelsea's sacking Poch if they wanted to progress, because I feel continuity is one of the most underrated things going into a season where the most tenured manager in the league is probably 7 years into his post. So this isn't like a league of longevity. So any kind of continuity that you have is going to give you a significant advantage over your rivals. I looked at United as a team that could make top 4. I think they have to get a lot more business done. I think it is not negotiable that they get Ugarte done. They need to get Mazraoui done. Mazraoui, I don't know how to say his name. My bad, my Moroccans out there. They need to get the Leach done. They need to get those 3 in, like non-negotiable. And then they need to try to get someone else. That would then be a luxury to get a 5th signing on top of that.
Yeah.
Well, technically that would be a 6th signing on top of that, but it is non-negotiable that they get those 3 guys because those have been your pretty much targets for most of the window. If you fail to get any of those 3, I think it'd be a failure by the board, and it would be setting the team up for failure. Especially now you've seen that one injury and Johnny Evans is back in the side. You can't have that. You absolutely cannot have that. I'm one of the most vocal critics of Ten Hag, but you can't say he's not going to have an excuse if your midfield and your defense is looking the way it's looking, especially with all of the injuries. So
yeah,
I think United more than anybody else has to do some work in the transfer window. But in the preseason, they've actually looked pretty good, and it's just adding a guy like Ahmad who's direct, who's decisive, who has high IQ. Because at the end of the day, like, football is a sport where IQ is contagious, right? People can literally talk you through a game. There's a reason why when you have a young superstar center back, you want to pair him with an old, calm, intelligent mind to kind of walk him through the game. Step now, don't step, now recover, this, that. Like, you have the physical tools, I have the mental tools, and I guide you through it. And then usually that young center back then grows up to become that same old head in the future. That's the natural cycle of things. So when you have a guy like Ahmad who brings a high level of technical security, high level of football IQ, it raises the level of all the other players around him. It raises the level of the attackers who are making decisive runs, the midfielders who are combining play with them. And you can see, like, people are more willing to show for the ball, make runs for him because they know he'll retain possession. You're not having to bust your ass back because he's lost the ball for the 15th time, like you would with Anthony. He's not going backwards. So if you make your run and you're open, he will find you. Things like that matter to your teammates because it's heartbreaking making the same overlapping run, getting ignored, or you're in position for a pass. The guy loses the ball. Now you have to recover. The next time you're not going to bust your ass to get up there because you're thinking he might lose the ball. I got to cover for him. So
Yeah.
Someone like Dallo is going to get a lot of just joy from playing with someone like Ahmad because you're going to have just nothing but technical security on that wing. So to me, they can look good, but they have to get all of their business done. They have to. And if I'm a United fan, I'm looking at the preseason and I'm saying, you know what? Not bad. Not bad. Could have been better, but not bad. Besides the injuries, not bad what I'm seeing on the pitch.
How much of a blow is it to lose Rashford? I know it's not confirmed yet, but if he doesn't start the season, is that a big blow for Manchester United?
Is he injured?
Yeah, he limped off. I don't think he played the Liverpool game. I think
I mean, if your wing pairing going into the season is Ahmad and Garnacho, you're not. I don't want to say this because it sounds wild, but you're not missing Rashford that much. Now, do you need him, barring any injuries? And Garnacho has shown himself to be someone who can't really do the whole 90 minutes. Impact sub, he's got it. 30 to 60 minutes, he's got it. Can he lead through the whole game? Hasn't shown that just yet. But can you ride a guy like Garnacho for, 5-6 game weeks until Rashford is fit? You can. I don't think that's particularly a position that they suffer that much. You have a guy like Sancho coming back as well, someone that could be a reliever. So
let's talk about Sancho too. What is the plan? What do you think should be the plan for him? And it feels like it's a curious one because he had relative success at Dortmund. How does he fit back into this United team with the whole issue that went with Ten Hag? Do they trust him? And what type of role do you see him playing next season?
Well, from his perspective, he's got 350,000 reasons to fit back into the team. And if he enjoys his wages, which he'll never get anywhere close to that ever again, and he's aware of that, then he's going to go out there and play. And what I love about sports is everyone's sentimental until their money is being affected. Everybody's sentimental until their money is being affected. I remember in American football when Colin Kaepernick knelt and all these players were just giving it the big ons on Twitter and on social media trying to support him. And when it came time to really show support and owners were saying, if you kneel, you're out. Then we saw who was really, really sentimental, right? And there was like 2 or 3 players in the entire league who had Collins back. So I look at Sancho the same way. All that standing on business, quickly out of the window when your money is on the line. And like I said, 350,000 reasons is a whole host of reasons for you to get in line and play your part. And you can see how quickly he's been assimilated back in the team. I know for a fact behind closed doors, this guy's apologized because there's just no way that Ten Hag in a position of strength was the one who relented. The only person who was in a position of weakness and who had no leverage was Sancho because there was nobody coming in for him. Even Dortmund, who he had so-called had this good spell with, weren't ready to fess up the money for him. So he knew he had no choice. You have to go back to that well. And he also knows this is it. You're not getting anywhere near this contract again. So if you want to get even 150K on your next deal, you got to go out there and ball out. Yeah. No excuses. You can't have no attitude problems. You have to not be a distraction at all. And that's the beauty of sports. Everybody's a bad man until their money is on the line. And I think his money is on the line, and he's a good old boy now. He's a good boy. I think last season he betted on the fact that the manager would be out of it, and he lost that bet. And now he has to fall in line. Yeah. So it's a tale as old as time. But I think talent-wise, he'll be all right. He won't be a main man, but I think he'll be important. He's not a terrible player. So, but I think you're going to see more commitment out of him this season than you did last season.
It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. So moving on. So let's talk about the game that mirrored the first game of the season for a lot of Chelsea fans. It was the Manchester City versus Chelsea game. Before I get into the whole tactical or sentiments about the results and all that, do you think that affects the player psychologically, playing the team you're going to play? the beginning of the season and losing to them? Does that play any role?
I was so shocked that that's who you guys had. Because I hadn't seen your preseason schedule. I was shocked that you were playing them. I don't like the idea of Prem teams playing each other. Period. I've always kind of felt that way. Like Arsenal playing United almost every season. I'll argue Arsenal playing Chelsea 2 preseasons ago was what gave them the platform to go on the run that they did. Them absolutely slaughtering.
Yeah, that's a crazy take.
I mean, if we're all being like, because I remember what the narrative was online after that game, right? A lot of Arsenal fans said they saw something different, and everybody was trolling them. It's just preseason, blah blah. They were like, I don't know. We feel really good going into the season. That was because it wasn't just the result. It wasn't just how resounding a defeat it was. It was the way that they played, the confidence, the free flowing nature. You could tell that a lot of the work they had been doing were all finally coming together. And when the season started, they kept that exact same energy. So I will never dismiss preseason, especially when it comes to playing teams that you're going to be in the same league with, because that's a chance to kind of like do advanced scouting on your opponents. I'm sure like that's not going to be the City team that you play on day one, and that might be even worse for you. But
that's probably Chelsea team that plays.
That's probably, besides Cole, I think that's pretty much 11 for 11, the Chelsea team that plays. So, yeah, I don't like playing Prem teams. I think it just cheapens. But, going back to like, we're talking about hate and rivalry, cheapens it a little bit. Why Liverpool and United playing a friendly? There's nothing friendly about those two teams. Why would Chelsea and the Arsenal be playing a friendly? There's nothing friendly about neighborhood rivals. So, I don't like it. I will never like it. Huh?
El Clasico too.
Well, El Clasico is a little different because it's always been an exhibition kind of rivalry. Like El Clasico has always been marketed as kind of a spectacle. It doesn't have that same blood, sweat, and tears hate. Like El Clasico has always been a spectacle. Like it's never really been about more hate. It became more hateful during the Sergio Ramos and Messi days when they were trying to kill him and Pepe and those guys, but I think that's even more okay than seeing like regular Prem teams play each other. But I'm sure that both coaches took a lot from that game in anticipation of the start of the season. I think it will probably benefit Maresca a lot more, just in terms of him figuring out which of his players are cut out for what roles, not necessarily positions, but you can have like last year we started the season. Yeah. Bissouma was our 6th, but all of the build-up responsibility from Deep fell on Madison. That's what you call understanding roles. It's not so much like, oh, I'll now play Lavia at left wing. It's like, no, but I'll know, okay, maybe you can't really handle this part or that part of the game. So, but I'm sure he has a lot to learn. So it's not like that one game is going to help him like that much. So
let's talk about a player that you have a lot of, should I say, opinions about, Enzo. All right. I'm talking about the football now, right? And there's been a lot of talk amongst the Chelsea fans about, obviously Lavia has shown this preseason, he has shown a lot. Like he is able to play the deep line role as the number 6. And then which a lot of fans expected Enzo to play. Remember the Pochettino time when Pochettino was coach, he was criticized for not moving him back to the number 6 role and playing him more like a box-to-box role. And yesterday he played the same role. He played like a number 8, right? He had Juice Biel. I think on the right side he was like the number 8 for the right side, and Juice Biel was the one on the left side. So what do you think about Enzo? Is this like a make or break season for him?
I feel like we need to run back some of the tapes of all of my criticism of Enzo from last season, just because I don't want people to think like it's the racist allegations that are making me turn on him as a player. I've never really been enthused about this guy as a player, and it's not really so much because of how he plays. More so, it's a lot of the discourse around him. I one of my biggest pet peeves is when people get crowned prematurely, because like you have to have accomplished something, and it can't be like you can't just say I'm the greatest. You have to do something. And your something cannot be, oh, I was on the same team as Messi when he won a World Cup. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because how many people is that good for? Is that good for Montiel at Sevilla? Is that good for Lautaro Martinez? Is that good for Di Maria, who's at the end of his career? How many people is this Messi get out of jail free card good for? How many people can cash this in? Because I'm of the understanding that only a select few people can hold that card, right? And for me, Enzo Fernandez is a great talent. I don't quite know where he's the best at. That's kind of been my issue. And even the most staunch Enzo defenders, they can't really tell you where he's best at. Oh, move him up. Oh, no, bring him back. Oh, no, he has to be an 8. Oh, no, he needs someone that's more physical with him. Oh, he needs this, he needs that. Once you start getting into those dynamics, I feel like I want to stop short of saying you're not that good, because we've seen guys who divided opinion like this, guys like Pogba, guys like Ozil, guys like that, who seemed like they needed specific settings to be at their best.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to completely just say it's impossible that you can be affected by your surroundings. But for me, it's just enough, right? Just let him go out there and do something. Enough. Every manager cannot be stupid, right? Every manager cannot be just terrible at getting the best out of one player. And ultimately, getting the best out of your team matters way more. I was seeing people last season where when Chelsea went on that run after Enzo got injured, we're trying to invalidate it as, oh, guys are just now doing. Be happy for the team. It's not Enzo. Like, if he's out of the team and the team is having success, then, you know what I mean? It's not the aim of Chelsea is not to get the best out of Enzo. It's to get the best out of the team. So for me, he's going to have to prove himself this season versus Chelsea having to prove anything to him. This is not someone that's like some well-decorated, world-class proven talent. I'd say Lavia has proven more in the Prem than Enzo has.
Oh, that's a crazy take. That's a wild take.
I mean, am I lying?
Lavia.
Lavia has a full season with Southampton as their best midfielder, bar none, right? He has that under his belt.
That's Southampton.
Right. No, but I'm saying,
you know how many players have been Southampton's best midfielder?
I agree. Yeah. But I'm saying that because, well, what has Enzo proven since he's been in Prem? He's proven that one day we'll get the best out of him. That's it. There's been nothing else. So my thing is, if Lavia is the better option going into the season, I don't want there to become, well, I mean, I do want this. Sometimes I forget I'm not a Chelsea fan because I get into my bag, but I want Chelsea to actually subscribe to the idea that Enzo must get the best. You must get the best out of Enzo and let that disrupt all the other midfielders who are playing better than him at any moment in time. Because ultimately, that's going to cause.
And the thing is, I think Enzo can be an excellent number 8. I do think so. Like, I'm not opposed to the fact that he can play that. And I always said that too on that Pochettino. I just felt like sometimes on that Poch, maybe, because when winning, I felt like, okay, now tweak it, like change things. Let's try him a little deeper. But I absolutely think that he can thrive playing that role. And yeah, like you said, it's a big season for him. Another player that I think it's a big season for is Mudryk, because it's looking spooky, but again, like, yeah, that's another player that I feel like we need to talk about for sure.
Yeah, Mudryk, that's my boy, man. I'm not a fan of the skinhead cut because it brings back PTSD for me. I don't know, that skinhead cut just
PTSD.
It gives crackhead and clan member vibes. That's all I'm saying. But he's far from that, though. He's far from that. He's one of the lads. But this player is getting into dangerous territory of becoming a meme. Once you get that meme tag, it is one of the hardest. Morata still hasn't lived that thing down. Guys like, what's up, Alex?
Hey, y'all.
But once you get that meme tag, it stays with you for pretty much the entirety of your career. Once people find it more like satisfying to make a joke out of you than to actually analyze your talent, then you start to get into dangerous territory. And I think he's getting to that point where another bad season and he's done.
Yeah.
confidence will be he's going to end up at Milan or somewhere else trying to revive his career. So
Yeah,
on a personal note, he has to do more this season.
He does. And I don't see how this system gets the best out of him too, because this system is heavily reliant on wingers being isolated. Like you have to come up with, you have to be able to beat your man. You don't have the benefit of a wing back or a fullback taking, defenders, running, doing the diagonal run, taking defenders off you. You have to do your thing. You have to be good 1v1. You have to be good technically, and that's not a strength. He doesn't seem to be a guy that you can pass the ball to. You always have to pass the ball into space for him, which is a bit worrying. Right. So yeah, it doesn't look good, but it's preseason. He can change. Like, he can be better, and they can make things work, and he can, he definitely knows that he has something to prove. All right. So let's introduce our guests. We have Alex in the building. So we've just been talking about the preseason in general. Before you go ahead, or before we, bring you in, just tell us a bit about yourself and what team you support.
Thank you, Adams. So I'm Alex. I do support Arsenal. The team that will win the league this coming season. But obviously, like I went to high school with Huzo actually.
Oh, cool.
We played soccer growing up. We still watch rivals. We talk about Tottenham and Arsenal all the time. Even though they have not won a trophy in how long?
Bro.
15 years.
Bro,
He still talks smack.
Adams, don't get too loud. Your own years are starting to pile up. Your own years are starting to pile up.
You would think they just won the Premier League, in 2020.
Yeah. Uza is crazy like that. But yeah.
But I think there's a lot to be excited for Tottenham too, because I think the coach has had a season to actually bed in his style now. I've watched some of the preseason games actually. Some of the youngsters look good. So I'm excited to see them. I don't know if they'll compete for the title, but I think obviously they started
definitely not. Definitely not.
Now, but the way they started last season was very intense. You thought,
I asked Uzo before you joined, I was like, do you see yourself starting the same way? And he was like, nah, I don't think that's happening again. I don't see it happening again too. Let's talk about your team before we talk about the whole Euros and Southgate. I know that's an issue that Uzo is ready to talk about, but let's just talk about your team, right? Preseason seem to be looking good, right? I mean, a lot of players are still the major players, or the key players were out, enjoying their time off, and rightly so. But how have you seen the preseason? How have you seen the preparations? And is there any player that has caught your eye since?
The preseason has been good. Obviously, like most of the main players are still, I think we're still yet to have Saka and Rice back, but I think the squad has been, stable for most part. It would be good to see this Calafiori guy a little bit more, hopefully in the next, I think there's one more game before the season, behind the closed door to at least, or actually the Emirates tournament. So it'll be good to see him. I think the squad is solid. There's not been much changes, which is, you like to see that. I still feel we need a striker, but Jesus has come, into preseason and has worked really hard. So he looks really good. Like I remember when we first got him 2 seasons ago, they had this preseason and forgot the team, but we won that game 5-2. And you could just tell, and he had this dribble from the right side of the field and he scored. You could just tell, the kind of player, he likes to cause chaos. So when you see him doing that, you know that he's in a good mood. I think it will still be good to get 1 or 2 more signings, because the midfield is still a little light, the number 8 role. And then if we can get a striker, it'll be good. All this Julian Alvarez links, they're just getting us too excited.
I think he ends up in Atletico. But I know one thing about City. City don't care, man. They'll sell their players to anyone.
I think that's the thing with Guardiola. If you want to leave, he leaves the door open. But if he wants to leave, I think Arsenal we have to go for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. Like, these are the type of players you need to look at. But I still feel like he's one of them players, just like Jesus. You're not sure if he's a striker. He wants to be a striker sometimes, but his qualities feels like he's more like a number 10. So I don't know, man. I mean, it's your problem if you guys.
I was just about to say, like, there's no way you're gonna make that same mistake twice. There's just no way. That would be so silly from Arsenal.
No. I don't think you can have too many good players. it's one of those things where like it's a good problem to have, even if we have him in the squad. And now it's a case of
That's
do
a
we
fair
play
point.
do we play him on the right? Do we play him in the middle? Do we play him on the left? If you're a good player, you'll find a role, right? I think that's actually a good problem to have.
That's a
You
fair
know,
point.
because think about it, when De Bruyne was out, he kind of filled in that number 10 role a little bit for City.
Not well though. Not
It,
well.
it
Let's
wasn't
point
as
that out.
well, but it was effective enough. I remember there was an Everton game that he scored like 2 goals. So there were games where at the beginning of the season, it sort of just kept them going. You kind of need that. Like when you take out Martinelli or Saka, there's a huge drop off. And I think that's what Arteta is trying to fix this offseason. Getting rid of Smith Rowe and, in Nketiah, I think he's going to leave as well, and replace those guys with players that when somebody has to drop out, that the quality is still very high. And I'm not saying those guys were bad. It's just, were they always at the level that we needed them to be? Maybe
Yeah.
not. But if we can get Julian, I mean, bro, I'd rather have him, and we have the headache of who we're gonna play. Are we gonna play Jesus this game? Are we gonna play, or even bring them off the bench, right? Like you can have a game where Martinelli sits on the bench and you have Jesus on the left, Alvarez in the middle, and Saka on the right, or maybe flip it, put Havertz in there. I think it's a good problem to have. So I'd rather have
Have
that
there
problem.
have there actually been any links to Alvarez, or is this just like you saying you want to go for him? I haven't heard any links. I've heard
No,
more
I think it's
Atletico.
more Arsenal fans. Arsenal fans just like trying to get trying to get on him.
No, I'm saying like I've seen more links to Atletico.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think the links to Atletico and PSG were validated by Fabrizio. So
Because he was saying he wants to move somewhere warmer. So I don't see why he would stay in England anyway.
I mean, you could argue that he didn't play like the most important role in those 2 titles he won. I'm not,
Yeah. No, because his first thing was he said minutes, but then he also mentioned like
Yeah,
the little thing
they
that he
talk
wanted
about
somewhere
the
that
weather
was
too.
the weather is too cold. So I don't see why he would stay in England. Period. Because a lot of guys want to move to Spain where it's sunny and good. So I
Well,
don't think.
I mean, I feel like if he goes to PSG, I think I would get that, because then maybe there's a vacuum there now to be the main player. But going to Atletico, I feel like it's a step back, to be honest. Atletico is not the Atletico.
Atletico and short Argentine strikers. I don't know. I'm saying it's gonna be worth 100 million in 2
They're
years.
not they're not the Atletico of old though. Like I
They
feel
just
like,
got to a Champions League semifinal.
bro, I think that was
What are the standards here?
you could argue, the thing with the Champions League, which I'm hoping will get corrected this year, is that teams have to earn those seeds. Because you can look at Inter making it to the final last year. You can argue that it's the luck of the draw. You pack all these guys to the right side. You put
Yeah, that's.
in.
I don't like the randomized draw. That
Mhm.
makes no sense to me. I think there should be some kind of differential that gets you at least
But
gets it.
it's different this year, right? It's different this season, right?
Yeah, that's what
But the knockouts won't be different though.
Oh,
The group stage is
really?
different because the group stage is a league, but the knockouts are going to be the same.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Yeah,
What they need to fix is there needs to be, like you said, you need to earn your seat. Kind of like the NBA, where if you're the best team in the league, you get to play the worst team. Not
Mhm.
like, oh, if you're the worst team, you play the other worst team, and then the two best teams play each other.
Yeah, especially in the early rounds, so that we can have like, you don't have like Inter getting into the final last
but
year was like,
Dortmund gets in the final too.
right,
Stain on the sport. Stain.
Yeah. All right. I know you guys have a bunch to pick with the Southgate.
It's an old bone now because they got my guy out of there, man.
Yeah, it's Southgate for me is a very, I think he's one of the most luckiest manager ever. Like, he's just a very lucky coach. And not even, I think he's a lucky person in general. There's some people that if you go on, you ever had those weekend tournaments, and there's some guys that you just need to have on the team. They may not even play, but when they're around, somehow, some way, the team will just end up winning the tournament. He's that kind of guy. And you can look at even 2018. Could they have competed, gone to the final? They had the lead against Croatia. They drew the game. They lost some. So, and you look at that squad then, Tottenham players were like the stars of the team then. Harry Kane, Dele Alli, Liverpool players were still coming into it. Even Arsenal, I mean, there was no Saka then. I don't think even there was an
No.
Arsenal.
No. It was Sterling.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had like Sterling, right? We had guys that were, sort of coming of age. You could say it was too early.
Harry Maguire.
Right. But on the paper, we could have, they could have gone to the final. I mean, I support England. Obviously, Nigeria doesn't go too far. Maybe they didn't even make the World Cup by the time. So it could have been more risky. It's just not it's very risk averse. And the biggest thing for me was you lost the final at home in 2021. And you lost it after taking the lead at the 10-minute mark. And you sit back, right? You sit back the whole game. You go to extra time. You're at home. You're literally playing at Wembley. You're not, I mean, I think then we were even crying for him to bring Grealish off the bench at the time. And he would be like, oh, Grealish had never played in the middle or on the wing at club level. So it won't do something unless it's seen the guy do it at the club level. And that's not an innovative coach. An innovative coach will come in and say, okay, I think you have these qualities. And Wenger used to do those things where like a guy will be playing center mid, but because he knows the guy is very good in terms of keeping the ball, he'll put him on the wing sometimes. And that you make do with what you got, but be creative with it. He won't play Grealish there. The same thing they did with Foden, except for when Foden played in the middle this season at Man City. He said he cannot play Foden there because he didn't play at club level.
That was popular. I remember that.
Right. And it's like, what kind of coach are you? You're supposed to make this thing work. Like, you have so much talent. So that's my frustration with him. But the biggest one is that they lost the final. Like, if you lose a final, the pain sits with you, right? And you should be at home being like, I wish we had gone for that game from the first minute, right? And it did the same thing again this year. They sat back the whole of the first half. And then when those guys finally scored at the beginning of the second half, that's when he became reactive. Whereas if he had been going for the game, the whole game, which he can do, there's so much talent. I mean, you think about players that didn't even get like.
Sorry to cut you short, but we said this on the other show. So you would have been okay if they went for the game and they lost.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it would have been fine because this is their second year. This is the second time in the final. So you want them to go for it. And it's fine to go for it. Hey, look, last year we sat back, right? We've learned our lesson. This time we went for it and we lost. So nobody can say we didn't try it. We actually went for it. But to sit back and wasted like 60 minutes, it's a shame.
Let me bring in Uzo. I'm sure Uzo has a couple things to say.
I mean, Alex knows where I stand on this. And there's something that even he admitted is true. Is the fact of the matter is whenever England achieved anything, we have to say past tense now because the guy is gone. But whenever England achieved anything under this manager, it was accredited to the players and luck. I mean, I've just heard an entire take about how he wears plaid T-shirts to the games to give them luck. Apparently, like he's just showing up, hand in his pocket, and spinning a leprechaun on his thumb and hoping against hope that they win. I just, for me, is he a great manager? No. I mean, it's not like he's been successful anywhere else, but is he the best manager they've had so far? Yes. And what I didn't like was like people were being disingenuous about the talent that they have. Adams, me and you have gone back and forth on this numerously. I don't think that their talent is that good. I think it's widely overrated because they control the media. Like I look at the Spanish team and I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt, I'd rather have those technical level footballers in my team than what England is out there throwing out. Now you can say, okay, maybe you could call up better and more technical players. That's a different argument. I'll hear that. But also when he left off Rashford, there was an uproar. Like, oh, how do you not bring Rashford? Like, well, Rashford ain't the best at ball retention. He's a counterattack, gung ho kind of player. So it's like you have to pick your poison, what you're asking from this manager. And I thought that his subs were brilliant throughout the tournament. Whenever they were under the crush, he always responded accurately. And he's like, yeah, he doesn't have the strength of being a proactive manager, but he's probably one of the best reactive managers. When things do go wrong, when they're off course, his changes always have impact. And it's like, at the end of the day, history is going to be very kind to him because I think you're going to look back on this era and say, you know what? They got to 2 Euros finals. They got to World Cup semifinals. This is more success than even the golden generation had. And I want to see the next manager try to replicate that level of success because honestly, nothing short of winning a tournament will supersede that. Am I right?
Absolutely.
So that's my thing is you've created that atmosphere. I'm just going to be ready to hold the next manager to that same standard. And I don't want to hear about playing well and not winning. Who cares? The thing is, Alex can say here, he's an Arsenal fan. One of the biggest identities that Arsenal have had throughout my entire existence as a football club is a style of play. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as they stopped winning, did anybody care what Wenger's style of play was and what they were doing? No one cares. They hounded the guy out. It's not like all of a sudden Wenger stopped playing beautiful. He was still playing beautiful stuff. He was just getting fourth. And they were like, oh, you know what? Maybe not so much the nice football. Maybe we want someone that can win. I was hearing Arsenal fans say, get rid of Wenger and bring Mourinho in, who insulted the club, insulted their legend. They were like, nah, but he's a winner. He's a winner. Bring him in. So at some point, we have to be honest about sports. Do you want to watch your team be pretty, or do you want to watch your team rack up on trophies? And unfortunately, Southgate didn't do either. So he did deserve to go in the end. But I'm just saying, let's not act like losing while playing well makes you feel any better about your team. I certainly don't feel any better than, we played well, but we lost. I don't care. If we lost, we lost.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I felt like, I'd be frustrated with Southgate too, because like you, Alex, I'm also an England fan, and a lot of times.
You're about me supporting this man. What would you see in this world?
Yeah, a lot of times, I won't lie, I felt like he could have been proactive, like Uzo said, but we can't deny the fact that he's the most successful English coach, and I still feel like he was the best character to have led that team to where, to the success, the relative success that they had. If they've had other coaches probably with bigger egos, I don't think it would have worked. But Southgate just felt like the best person in terms of like character wise to handle like the egos that comes with being, the egos that come with being an English manager. And that's one of the reasons why I feel like he succeeded, because he had the trust. He had the trust, and I also think he was very stable in terms of his like choices, and he just stuck with that, and which was safe. That was the safe route to go. But I feel most times people are right in calling him out for sure, but at the same time, we always still have to remember that he did the best that he could have done.
Yeah, no, I think I definitely agree with you. I think you mentioned that he's the most successful, and I think that's probably the way to look at him. Is he the most accomplished England manager? Yes. Is he the best? No. He's hands down not the best manager or the best coach. And I think you can be a really good manager and not be successful.
Yeah.
Could be, timing. I think they brought Fabio Capello, but then they brought him right before the World Cup. And you could look at Fabio Capello's record and say, he earned the job, right? But, timing, players, everything just didn't work out, right?
He didn't wear the right plaid shirt, Alex. He kept running into Germany. He kept running into Germany and Brazil. They ran into prime Brazil, R9.
So, you could look at that. I feel like with Southgate, it's one of those where the situation is so bad that everybody's crying for a savior. And he came in, it was just the perfect storm to allow him to the patience. The thing was so bad. They didn't qualify for, was it Euro 2008 that they didn't qualify for? They lost to Iceland. And so the timing of him coming in, and the whole thing with Sam Allardyce, him and the whole fraud stuff.
Yeah.
So everything was so at the low that the bar was really, it was so minimum that if you had a club, I remember when Klopp came into Liverpool, he said within 4 years we're gonna have 1 or 2 titles, right? And that's the level of skill that he had in terms of, or just expertise. He had won the title at Dortmund, so of course he was gonna shoot high, right? He was gonna aim high and try to get that, the ultimate goal. When you brought Southgate in, it was just be a caretaker for a little bit because the situation is so bad. It's embarrassing for the FA. So I think we need to look at that there was actually no, there was no high expectations for him.
Expectations, okay.
Right. There was no standards, right?
So anything that he did was just bonus. If you get us out of the group stage, oh, we're happy. If you got us to a semifinal, oh, you've done the best thing since sliced bread. But in reality, even leading up to the last Euros or the last World Cup, the form was terrible. He even complained in the lead up to the World Cup, the last World Cup. They were so bad that I think they were booing him, and he said he felt under pressure because they were just not playing good football. And it's people can take losing because we see it in the Premier League all the time. Like we see, we see stupid goals too in the Premier League, but we know it's not for lack of trying. We know these guys are trying to win, right? We know that if you have a 2-0 lead, it's not safe because the other team is going to go for it. And I think that's the key thing. Everybody's, gathering together during the summer. The last thing you want to be seeing is, you have Foden, you have the player of the season, and you guys are sitting back for the
Well, Alex, you could argue they played really well at the World Cup in the 2022 World Cup. I thought they were one of the better teams. I remember people were raving about Saka, people were raving about Rashford. These guys were flying. And this is even to put your theory to the test. The loss to France, they were the better team. They should have won that game. They absolutely peppered France that entire second half. Before the Giroud goal, and honestly, if Kane goes on to score that second penalty, who knows, right? I thought they were the better team. Am I lying, Adams?
No, you're absolutely correct. So, Alex, if they had won that game against Spain, would you change your opinion about Southgate? Would have changed it?
I wouldn't. I'm telling every Southgate hater is like this. If he goes on to win the Euros and woke up back to back, they're still not. The narrative is not about.
So to you, it's not really it's not about winning the trophy. It's really the style of play.
I think for me, it's
almost
the
his
style of
personality.
play. But so, for example, that they had, they lost the Euros and then they went into the World Cup. And again, you see, the World Cup is always weird because you always have one, at least, unless you're in the group of death, you're gonna have one or two teams in your group that's, the first game they won 6-0, and everybody was like, but what are you gonna do when you're playing? Is it Iran or Iraq that they played?
Yeah, it was.
They beat them 6-0. What do you expect? It's like that's a warm-up game. It's like a preseason game. And then once the road gets tougher, and they played France, they were in the ascendancy and then the game against France. All right. Then the PK, you can call it anything. Sometimes once you've taken the lead, France, as they always do, they've scored, they'll sit back. All right. But even losing to France wasn't a problem. If he had won the tournament, I would still want him to resign because I think, because I mean, look at this whole tournament. This whole tournament was so bad. The first game, I think the first 10 minutes, Saka crosses and Bellingham scored. That's the best they played up until the Netherlands game. The second game, they were awful. They drew, I think was it Serbia or Switzerland?
I think it was Serbia.
Right, it was Switzerland, Serbia. No, so they played Switzerland in the knockout. So it was Serbia
finals.
Yeah, and
Denmark.
It was Denmark, right? The Denmark game, I think, was it? They scored first, and then Denmark equalized, and you just didn't see any spark. All right, you think, imagine what you would do as a FIFA guy or football manager if you have Foden, Rice, all these guys. Just imagine the level of thinking you'll be saying, okay, let me do this. And you can even look at the squad selection. It was horrible from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like leaving Rashford out. Leaving.
The Rashford thing, I don't really mind it because one thing about we complained about Southgate is you always favor the same guys, right? And Rashford, it wasn't really, last season wasn't. So I get that. I get Rashford and the Grealish omission, but the other guys, like not taking a recognized left back, that was a
that was catastrophe. Really, it was very bad. Just take.
Bro, it doesn't matter, man. You think about any other country. Think about any other country. They would have taken a left back.
Right.
I've seen Germany play Kimmich at right back sometimes if they need to. You don't always have to take someone that's a specialist at that position. My thing with Southgate is he's just uninspiring. It's the Poch syndrome, man. He's uninspiring. I think Alex answered the question as honestly as he could. Even winning wouldn't have been enough.
Yeah.
Because a final wasn't enough. So winning for sure was not going to be enough. So
to run the Southgate
that next manager.
That's what I'm getting to. Alex, who would you like to see? Who would you like to see?
Honestly, I would like to see Klopp. I think either Pep or Klopp will be perfect for this team. Just because, I think when you look at the Premier League, you can define the Premier League eras by, obviously the early Alex Ferguson and Newcastle days, right? Or Kevin Keegan. Then you look at the Arsenal, Man U days, right? Going for the title. Then the Chelsea era, right? With Jose Mourinho, right? And then, the Pep and Klopp era came as well. And the football is different, right? Now everybody plays from the back, possession based. And you look at the Liverpool players, the Man City players, even the Tottenham players with their new coach now, like everybody is required to be brave on the ball with Arteta. So you want a coach that gives the honors to the players to go and take the game to the opponent, right? And I think when you look at Klopp's history in cup tournament, anyways, the Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup, he's done enough to say you should trust him with the job. And you can even look at Austria with Ragnick, right? He went into a bad situation with Man U, but you can look at that squad. They were on the attack the tournament, on the whole tournament. They obviously they didn't get through. Was it Turkey that they lost to? Or
They lost at the very first round, man.
right. But that whole game, I mean, that they were going for it. Like I would. You see, when we play soccer, there's no fun in defending for 90 minutes. It's heroic if you have to
fun
do
for
it.
me. But that's,
no.
That's always been my issue.
It's not fun.
No, I'm saying my thing is we're acting like defense is not like they don't get paid, like they don't cash checks too. Defenders wake up in the morning, they put their socks on just like attackers do. They want to go out there and have a reason to live. You think they want to be standing on the halfway line playing the same reverse ball 50 times while your winger is crossing the ball 80 times? How about them? How about their joy? How about them celebrating the last minute clearances?
I think defenders will actually they won't mind attackers playing the whole game.
They wouldn't mind, honestly.
Mourinho was always good. Mourinho was so good at finding those players who love to defend. And in my opinion, you can draw a direct line from players who love and relish defending to great captains who win a lot of trophies. You can draw a very direct line. Like, think of any player that you know who loves defending and always relish the opportunity to defend, celebrates tackles, all of that. They're almost always great captains who won a lot of things. I love defense. I'm on record. I love the Conte era way more than I love this Ange era. I'm sorry. Watching my team hold 4 to Fulham, hold 3 to Brighton, go to Plymouth on him, go to Newcastle, hold 6. Watching that, I never want to sign up for it. I don't care how beautiful the ball is. Bring me a 1-0 any day. Bring me a manager that has shame. A manager that says, you know what? 2-0 is enough. Enough. We're sitting back.
Just bring me a manager.
I don't disagree.
I don't care.
I disagree with you on that. I think
you're praising Austria. Austria got taken out of the tournament. This guy went to the final, and they get more kudos than him.
Right. But it's you can understand. Even if Austria was to sit back and defend, you can understand it, given the talent level. Right. I think the frustration is
tournament still.
I think the frustration is you have the talent. Do something with it. Like even the Mourinho teams, and Mourinho always get labeled as a defensive coach. And I think towards, obviously the last jobs he's taken, right, they don't do him justice. His teams were always attacking. You can call it counter attack at its finest. Even the Alex Ferguson teams were a lot of counter attack teams actually.
Yeah.
They will sit back, they'll soak up pressure, but you sleep like this. They hit you like that. I mean, you look at the Barcelona Inter game, the 3-1 at home. You saw how they scored 3 goals on that prime Barcelona team. So they were not always defensive. They were, they had attackers, but everybody knew their role.
That's what Southgate did.
Right.
Great counterattacking.
But guys, we're gonna keep going on about Southgate. We're gonna keep going on about Southgate. Let's get to the next segment of the show. So we don't have the name for this section for this segment yet, so we just call it like the reaction segment, right? So we have a few videos where I'll just hear your takes and your reaction from the videos. So the first one is Uzom. I like this one.
Wait, what was that?
Give me a second. I need to.
It didn't quite come through.
I was
Yeah.
about to say, I don't know. I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah, I haven't seen the video either. I think one last thing on the
面倒なことになってきたぜ。
してるなんて嬉しい限りです。全然余力残してやがった。
Yeah, go ahead, Alex. You're about to say something before I put the video on.
Oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say that, with the Mourinho teams, Mourinho always find a way to freeze attackers. You look at Hazard when he came to Chelsea rather. He was very free and he could express himself, and I think that's what Southgate really ultimately failed at. He didn't do enough to free those attackers to take the reins. My quick reaction to this video, man, Dele Alli, there was a lot of comparison between him and Bellingham actually during the Euros.
Yeah.
And it's just his case is really sad. All I remember was after that, I think it was maybe either the World Cup or Euros. He came back, I guess wasn't fit and injuries, and from there it just kind of fell off. And I think Uzo might be able to speak better because obviously you watch a lot of Tottenham, but his case is just very sad because it was such a good talent. And I think, Tottenham also having a lot of turnovers coach-wise, it also kind of cost that. But man, it's just sad. I hope he can rediscover his form because it was a good talent. It was a top-notch talent.
Yeah. Uzo, do you think he ever gets close to the level he was at before he fell off?
If he was to do that, it would be the greatest comeback in not just football but sports history for me. It would be the greatest comeback in history if he was to get back to that level. I don't think that's what he would be aiming for. I think if he's aiming for that, then that means whatever he just posted in that video, he's lying to himself.
Yeah.
I think one of the key things you need to do, right? If I'm interpreting the video, and I did like the video, but if I'm interpreting the video well, that means one of the first things he's done is been honest with himself, because that was what killed him, is the ego and the acclaim of where he was and not being willing to accept when he dropped a level and work himself back into it. So if he comes back with that same ego of, I'm meant to be a star, I'm meant to be where Jude is, I'm meant to be doing this or that, then he's going to fail again. Because for Dele, it was always about his mentality. I think what ultimately sealed his fate and was the final nail in his coffin was when we did that all or nothing.
Yeah, the Mourinho
video, because it really exposed what we had already known about the guy. It finally exposed it. And I know he dealt with a lot of addiction. His story is actually quite sad. Just his family situation, his upbringing, all of that. And, it just kind of reminds you, man, your favorite players are human beings, and they're all susceptible to life happening to you at the end of the day. And I think life happened to him. It didn't help that, we were also experiencing a downturn in form. Then we lost Poch. He didn't like the style of play under Mourinho. So even when he started to come back from his injury, he bought in for like 3 or 4 games. I remember he was flying. He scored like a brace. He scored again. We were like, oh, Dele's back, to the levels. And then ultimately just didn't hold water. But if I'm interpreting that video correctly, I think, and he's been tweeting, doing interviews along this line for over a year now, teasing this comeback. I think he's come to a position where he's at peace. That's the most beautiful thing, right? Is like, forget about your stardom, forget about everything else. Are you at peace with yourself as a person? And I think he's at peace with himself as a person. I think he's accepted his own fault in all of the drop-off that he experienced in his life. And I think he's ready to work to give. And you can see, like, clubs have been opening up their facilities. Come train with us. He's posted some of his training videos. He looks good.
Yeah.
I'd be happy to see this guy go the same way Ross Barkley was playing for Liverpool.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
I would be glad for someone in those levels. Give him a chance. Let him just rediscover his. I think he can have a Ross Barkley season.
Yeah. That would be a success season.
Amazing. Yeah, for me, that would be amazing. If Prem had a comeback player of the year, Ross Barkley would be my comeback player of the year last season.
Yeah.
And I think Dele should be shooting for that kind of role.
I think he needs to drop deeper too. Probably like Ross Barkley as well. I think he needs to maybe find a deeper role midfield. That's just what I think.
I think he can still play up. I think you don't want to miss out on his talents going forward because ball striking, being able to pick a pass, there's a new thing now that Arsenal fans invented, touch economy. So he has great touch economy. He takes only the necessary amount of touches on the ball.
Oh my gosh.
You know, Arsenal fans, they invented everything, man. Parking the bus is now called out of possession play. And half turn is now called the touch economy. or my favorite one is he has no angle bias. I'm like, no, what? Get these nerds out of my sport, man. Get these absolute nerds out of my beautiful sport. But yeah, no, I'm happy for David.
All right. So this next one is go ahead.
Los ídolos.
I think his goal has to be to get back to where it was. You know, for me, once you've attained a particular level as a player, you know it's there. You know, like you said, you know, it's like getting back to just being back to yourself, feeling comfortable, feeling at peace. Because the real part of soccer is the fitness aspect. If you can get back to full fitness and hopefully no injuries, because what the injuries does is you're trying to get back to 100%, you get another injury, and then it's like it's just constant battle with injuries. So if you can get that injury aspect done, and he actually works for full fitness, I think he can be back. A lot of the Premier League plays is, are you fit? You know, and then obviously he has the talent, he can play.
I'd say right now, there's not many guys in the Premier League that are better than him. If I start going club for club, how many clubs can he possibly start at, even at the current level that he's at? So,
yeah,
it'd be nice to see Everton get him and give him a chance.
Yeah,
definitely.
All right. So I have another video. So it's probably
Cristiano, Bobby Charlton.
¿Cuál es la última canción que has escuchado?
So obviously that was in Spanish or whatever language that was. He was asked who his idols, football idols are, and he said Cristiano Ronaldo and Bobby Charlton. This kid is, how old is he? 18. His parents probably never watched Bobby Charlton play.
Bobby Charlton.
Yeah. So your thoughts about Endrick?
You know, Endrick is I feel like it's still very raw. You know, I've seen some of his games, especially the one against England. When he came off the bench, he scored, but then he missed a good chance right after. And I watched him in this Copa America. You know, the game he started, and I don't know why they would even start him ahead of Martinelli to begin with, and then play him the full 90 minutes. So, you know, I think he's, you know, every new player that comes out of Brazil now is like, you know, the next R9. And I think so far, you know, he's been more hype than actual, you know, skill. But, you know, you're training at Real Madrid, you expect that he's 18 years old, he can catch on. And his play for Palmeiras has actually been very good. Like every time I tune into their games or watch results, he's done something. But, you know, at the international level, I still haven't seen enough of him. The Charlton, the Bobby Charlton thing is really, you know, maybe somebody just planted, you know, this interviews now, you know, someone just planted the word into him. And because I don't know, what is he doing? Referring, you know, Bobby Charlton, when you have R9, Ronaldinho, all these big guys from Brazil, and you're talking Bobby Charlton, maybe he's still upset that they lost the, you know, England won the World Cup in 1966 or something, because I don't understand why you would be. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
Yeah, Endrick, you know, have you seen those scissors? Like, oh, if someone has 1,000 haters, I'm one of them. If they have no haters, that means I'm
No, come on, man, don't be that.
No. I feel the opposite with Endrick.
Oh, okay.
Right? I think because it's now so cool to hate him, if Endrick has one supporter, and I know he only does, it has to be me. I feel like now I have to support the guy because I really do feel bad. He's very, very cringe for sure. It's like every interview he wants it to be a memorable one that you can frame and put on your wall. So it's like he says whatever he feels, like all the things about saying his dad groomed him to play for Real Madrid when he was young. Something about like he was going to be named after some. I was like,
Yeah. I remember that one too.
enough. He does need to shut up. He does. But to me, his path forward is just look at Vinicius. It was not working.
Yeah.
It was not working at all. I was one of those that was like, yeah, they got scammed. They got scammed. But now he's, in my opinion, the best attacker in the world until Mbappe gets back to form. So I think there's a path for Endrick. You're at the right place. You're going to get the right level of help. But you do need to shut up. As someone who supports you, because I have to, you need to shut up. Stop. No more interviews. 1 full year, no interviews. 1 full year. Don't do a single interview unless you're just talking after the game. That's it.
Yeah.
I think to actually support your point, you should look at Rodrigo. Rodrigo came into Real Madrid, I think it was 18. You don't hear anything. He just performs on the pitch. You know, it comes in the game as a sub, it makes impact. And that's the kind of, I mean, that guy.
I think that's a better example for him. That's a better example.
That's
for him.
actually
Yeah.
the perfect example.
Yeah.
The only thing with Rodrigo is, well, actually, the good thing with what you even just suggested is when you're that kind of player, you also escape a lot of criticism. Because it's like no one ever hears from you. When Brazil were getting dragged through the mud, I heard they called Vinicius' name, even though he didn't play in the game because he was suspended, unjustly suspended. They called his name and blamed him for it. They blamed Neymar for being injured. They blamed Rafinha, who actually tried and was the best player on the pitch. You know who they didn't blame? Rodrigo, who was absolutely abhorrent throughout the entire tournament.
Bro, I would have called him that, man. Rodrigo was always class, bro.
No, he was bad. He was bad in that tournament. He was bad in that tournament.
He wasn't exceptional, but it wasn't awful. I wouldn't say it was awful. I think
Rafinha was their best player, like by far. That was actually
he didn't hit the heights that we know him to be at.
But my point is, like, when you're that kind of player who just focuses on your football and you don't talk, you can escape a lot of criticism. It helps you. That way you can just. Andrew was the one who grabbed the mic saying, "Oh, we cut off our vacation to play for you guys," as if it's some kind of privilege to play. I mean, some kind of like work at like just demand to play for Brazil. It's a privilege. You're wearing one of the greatest shirts. So, but yeah, he just needs to shut up. Be more like Rodrigo. I agree.
All right, there's one more. Okay. How do they say this on that NBA show? Is this anything or nothing? Is this
Something or nothing.
So is this something or nothing?
there's something there. There's always something. Osimhen, I've been hearing all this PSG links, and I really hope he gets a move this season. But if he doesn't, he will be in good hand with Conte, because Conte
doesn't want him. But finish. Go ahead.
It doesn't really.
Yeah,
he doesn't want Napoli.
Interesting. I think I'm excited to see Conte what he does with Napoli. Napoli were horrible last season, bro. I mean, they were horrible. They were living on the 2 years. They were living on the hype of 2 years ago, and or at least the season where they won the title. But they were absolutely horrible from defense to midfield, and they're just suffering from the title hangover. I think
losing Kim and Jay was huge for them. Their defense fell apart, and once that fell apart, all those Zambor and Kisa guys who caught lightning in a bottle, they weren't the same players. And then you realize it's not down to two people; it's down to a team effort. That's when you really realize it. Also, they lost my boy Ndombele.
Yeah, that's serious.
You should have signed him. You should have signed him.
He was chilling on the bench, anyways.
I like how they just said he was wearing the right t-shirts every day. He was bringing luck. Send some guys,
bro. That's the kind of players, bro. Those are the kind of players, honestly, bro. Oh, that guy, bro. Oh man, actually, bro. I remember his first season at Tottenham. I was so excited.
I thought that was Dembele. That was the rebirth of Dembele, man. Musa Dembele.
I had this Yaya vibe where, like, you can just change the game at any time. But man, it's such a drop off.
Want to talk about laziness? What a guy! Laziness personified.
The way you're collecting that check, you're collecting 55 million or whatever.
Serious money, man. Sheesh.
Man, but I hope Osimhen. To me, he's a fighter of a striker. He's gonna hustle. Um, I mean, I know he was getting linked with Arsenal at the beginning of the summer transfer, but I don't think we could use him. I mean, I wouldn't say no to a player like him, but you know, I think if he goes to PSG, he'll be fine. I'm surprised Conte doesn't want him because I think he's that kind of fighter, and he can play on the counter. He can run the channels. He can hold up the ball. He can, head. So I don't know why Conte wouldn't want him. But
Yeah, I was surprised too. Apparently, Conte wants the Lukaku, right? And that's that's the idea.
But I think also Victor was on the way out.
Yeah,
He's had long-standing.
and I'm surprised though. You see a coach like Conte come in, I think you need to change your mind. Like if the Conte is known,
I think for him it's bigger than the way they were playing. It's more about the fans, the city, the country.
that makes sense.
I think there's some of the things he said. It alludes to more than just I think he was enjoying his football. I don't think he feels appreciated. He's even hinted at things of like it's more than one person because Kvara got a lot of the credit when they won the title.
Yeah,
And I don't think they would have won the title without Ossie. And I'm now if Ossie has one hater, it's me.
definitely you. Yeah,
But is this something or nothing? It's absolutely something. But it's something that we already knew. And it's like if you didn't know it, then what are you watching? Of course he's not technically gifted. Of course he can't dribble. Of course he's not actually some kind of elegant floater of a player. Of course, he doesn't have touch economy. Come on. It's Osimhen. Bob's supposed to bring the ball under control. He needs 8, 9, 10, 11 to hold that ball.
Forcefully adding this word.
Hey, listen, I'm just trying to stay relevant in this football Twitter street, man. Trying to say touch economy. He doesn't have angle bias. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have the strides like a gazelle. He's a truck of a striker, and I mean he does what he does well. But expecting him to be anything more than that, I feel like is disingenuous. Like if you were to put Lukaku in that position, he would have the same struggles. If you were to put, I'd even say if you would put someone like Drogba in that position, he would have the same struggles. I don't think Drogba was exactly a very good dribbler.
Stop.
I think I'm just saying like Drogba was good at holding up the ball and using his body, but if you face him up 1v1 against somebody, he's not gonna just immediately beat them unless he's able to use his pace or use some kind of like sleight of hand. So somebody set Osimhen up. And clearly Napoli must not be trying to sell him if they're going to be putting out that kind of, because how are they going to get you more money for this guy?
I mean, I think it's also like Conte. It's like Lukaku is kind of like that too, I mean,
yeah. And no, I'm not saying he
don't have touch. So I guess it's just because
Lukaku has touch inflation. He's actually ancestral. But that was funny to watch.
Yeah. No, I guess he just wants somebody that's bought in. I think that Tottenham experience really taught Conte some lessons too. Like you want players that are bought in. And Conte is that kind of coach that if everybody's bought in, it'll take you somewhere.
Yeah.
It may, even if you guys don't get to the title, because this Inter team, he practically built the foundation for that team, the DNA of that team. Kind of like when Mourinho used to build the teams and then he left, and all the other Chelsea coaches were coming in and kind of just inheriting the talent or the core of the team. So I think he can do that with Napoli.
Yeah. Most of the stars that are at Inter right now, he built them. Bastoni, Çalhanoğlu, all of those guys, Lautaro, Barella, all of those guys.
Barella.
Yeah, Barella. Yeah.
Nicolo Barella.
Yeah.
If there's a player I want from that Italy league, is that Barella guy?
I think he's probably the most sought after Italian player, period, right now.
Yeah.
Besides maybe Buongiorno, the young defender, I think he's also pretty sought after.
How about this dude Chiesa from Juve?
Yeah, he's being pushed out.
Yeah, I'll take him. If they get anything 20 million, 25, I'll take him. Because he's got a lot of speed. Every time I've seen him play, even coming off the bench, he's solid. So I'll totally take him. I think.
The argument is that he's not the same after his injury, but I'm like, to me, that's a chance to get a cut rate deal. I even tweeted it. I was like, Arsenal should be all over this deal. I think it's perfect for, you've been looking for a Saka backup. He can play on both wings. He's a goal scoring type of winger. And then it's like on the off chance that he recovers from his injury and becomes a superstar, you have pulled off the heist of the, because this is a 100 million player. You would have put off the heist of the century. And if he doesn't, then he's still just a backup anyway. And then you have the two Italians that can bed him in Jorginho and Calafiori. To me, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, but I don't think they'll do it.
I completely agree. I think take him 20 million. You cannot lose. And when you're taking players from the biggest clubs, you're not. It's hard to see such a drop off because they're used to the pressure, right? He's played for Juve. He's
been a superstar in a title winning team before. He's like that kind of experience doesn't just go away.
I would totally take him. I saw the link. I was like, man, we got to go for him. We really got because his contract expires next year.
Yeah, and also they're literally not even allowing him train. So
they don't want
they're gonna there's no way they'll try to fleece you.
Yeah, they don't want him. I don't understand what type of business that is. If you don't want a player, you don't treat him that way. Like it reduces his value. I don't get
when you come into all these big clubs as a coach, you have to make a statement. And it kind of
I trust Mota though. I trust Mota. I think he's right to freeze him out because he's part of the old guard. And I think Juve are actually going to be very exciting next season. But Chelsea fans saying don't treat your players that kind of way.
Bro, you know how I feel about this like that, man. I'm never gonna take the stand of the club. Gallagher and Chalobah. You know this on my boys, man. You know this.
Yeah, what's happening with Gallagher's son, man? It's like,
bro, it is. But
why would you be pushing him out like that?
I think treating two academy talents like when it was Malansa, I understand it. The guy hit the lottery. He was scamming in real time. I understand that. But academy players?
Yeah, it's not.
And then that would now be more evidence to go with what Mount was saying because Mount felt like on the low key he was treated that way. But because he was so divisive at the time, fans just assumed that he was the one kicking up a stink.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this will give some credence to the fact that, if you're an academy kid, that PSR tag hanging over your head, pure profit money, makes you less desirable pretty much for the club.
Yeah.
So that's sad. But I imagine the academy kids are looking like, wow, is that my future?
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys' expectations for Chelsea this year? Because they got spanked by Man City yesterday. Celtic spanked the hell out of them. I'm like, what's going on? You're making Brendan Rodgers look good. I'm like, yo.
So
what are you guys realistic expectations?
Just a point of note, right? Alex is the biggest Brendan Rodgers fan of all time. He would have actually sacked Arteta to bring in Brendan. He supports BR I'm surprised you didn't pitch Brendan Rodgers for the English job, Alex. I'm actually shocked.
Honestly,
because you'd probably be free to take it.
Honestly, I would give him the job. I mean, just look at the preseason games, and people are saying, "Oh, it's just preseason."
City as well. They cooked City.
Brendan Rodgers. I like him. I think he's all right.
His first stint at Celtic, there was a game they went to the Etihad and played 3-3 draw with Man City.
Yeah.
This was like early Pep days.
He won the domestic treble as well.
Yeah. The whole team was unplayable. They were crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
And there was another season where Klopp, him and they played Klopp's team and they spanked Klopp's team like I think 4-1. Even Klopp has really high regards for Brendan Rodgers, so people don't always like the old Brendan Rodgers thing, but I think he's a good coach. I think in the right environment.
So too.
And he was unlucky that he didn't leave Leicester at the right time.
Can I tell you a petty reason why I think he's not good?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's too short. There's something about having an imposing figure. You know what I mean? I don't know. I can't think of many short managers. He's extremely short.
But he's that short though. I don't think he's that short.
He's like 5'7". Have you seen when he shake hands? Up until about Tuchel was so tall and when he shook your hand, it felt like he was bigger than you. With BR, he has this very intimidating, he has that intimidating presence.
When they exposed him, when they did that, because even I never thought it was that short until they did that. That Liverpool thing where they had the cameras and they he did that letter stuff and they will show him. I'm like, this guy's actually.
I also never knew he was that short.
I didn't know till now. Like you guys are saying it. I never thought he was short.
I could never show that, and he's actually a short man. But I think it was just the You know, it was unfortunate. That Liverpool team into 13-14, they deserved to win the title. They played fantastic football. And you know, they lost the title there, so you kind of get this choker of a name.
Yeah.
Then obviously, once you raise expectations, if Arteta didn't come in second place again this year, you can imagine the pressure that will be on him. You know, once you raise that expectations, you kind of
There's
have
no
to
going
maintain
back.
it.
There's no going
Right.
back.
And
Yeah.
then he got fired at Liverpool. It rebuilt his reputation. But then right when Leicester was good, it should have jumped ship. It should have gone to Arsenal because I think they offered him the job. Go to Arsenal or Chelsea or wherever, because if the team is not spending, even you can see with Pep, even Klopp, he actually spent some money. You need to reinforce the team at the right time. And kind of like Ten Hag now, after this season, there'll be no excuse because they're actually supporting him.
I don't think there's any excuse right now for Ten Hag.
Well, there's no excuse for him to finish that far off this past season.
He's going to be one of the longest tenured managers in the top 6. Besides Arteta and Pep, he's next.
They're grooming. I
You
think
gotta
they're
do-
grooming Van Nistelrooy for the
I
job.
think so too. Because
They went and brought 2 head coaches.
that
They
pitch
brought
must have been
Van Nistelrooy.
crazy.
Right. They brought Van Nistelrooy and the Go Eagles coach. And that Go Eagles team, they had, you know, attacking intent about them. So they went and brought those 2, you know, clearly
Well, then that to me that's bad because that means those guys have every incentive to sabotage this season for their own personal gain. I never thought that was ever a good strategy to bring the inherent successor into the dressing room while the current manager is still struggling and philandering. Like what like we've seen that. What incentive does Rude have, right, to give any good advice right now? When technically, if you fail, he's next in line for the job. You see what I'm saying?
I actually would. I think it's good because when you look at Manchester United fell off so bad, and you can look at David Moyes as the first block in that. When he came in, he didn't need to. I mean, you're coming in, the team just won the title. A lot of times you don't need to change much. When you the same thing with Pep. Pep came into a Bayern team that just dominated. They crushed everything. You actually don't need to change too much, right? Sometimes, you know, a team needs a complete overhaul. But no, the team just won the title. Just fine-tune things, keep the backroom staff. He fired all of Ferguson's staff, and right away they fell off. So having a good coaching staff that can actually point you in the right direction, that can look at a game differently, I think it's good. You're right, but it could create bad incentives. Like, okay, not really give your best. But I think those guys are honest people. They want Manchester United to succeed, and it would help them if Man U succeeds, because then they've been head coaches before. They can go elsewhere and be another coach. The Premier League.
I'm just saying if the pitch was, hey, if things don't go well, we're going to be looking at you to kind of see what you're about. Then I'm sorry, no matter how honest a man you are, I was telling Adams earlier. Everybody's a bad man until your pockets are involved. Guy, the money for assistant and the money for the main man ain't the same.
And obviously, and the limelight too. I think the limelight. And for someone like Van Nistelrooy, he has incentive. He wants to manage Manchester.
I'm sure he's looking at a guy like Xabi Alonso. He's looking at guys like Ollie. He's looking at all these guys. Right. Lampard. Why can't I do what they did?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
And I think Ten Hag would know it. I think everybody would know it, and it's a case of, can you succeed before that has to be the plan.
before the axe swings.
Because I'm sure they had the conversation with him, and obviously it's new owners. They didn't have any incentive to keep Ten Hag. They could have just fired him.
What I love about Ten Hag so far, though, is I don't know if you've noticed, is the FA Cup, his arrogance has gone up to times 50. I love it though. Like, I'm one of the biggest Ten Hag doubters and haters, but I've loved the arrogance. To me, if you're gonna be hated, you might as well earn it. That's how I've always felt. Like, if people are gonna hate and criticize me anyway, I might as well give you a reason to.
And I think he's earned the right to, because I don't think even Manchester United fans understood how bad things were at Manchester United. Like when Mourinho first said, "Oh, he needs new signings," everybody was like, "Oh, Mourinho is demanding too much." So Mourinho left. And then it was like 3-4 seasons later, they were still not competing for any title. That everybody kind of saw that, okay, he was right. And then obviously Ronaldo fallout happened, and it kind of just gave a little bit more insight into because everybody, everybody obviously supported Ronaldo at the time. So things were bad. You mean look at the stadium too? It's pouring water. Like all those things, like things were actually bad, right? And so having all hands on deck, getting new coaches that would look at a game differently. I think, in fact, I'm actually kind of worried about them. Because United they would not get up for anybody else, but they would get up for Arsenal, and I don't want that.
I don't think
No, they'll get up for Arsenal. Trust me. United always gets up for Arsenal.
that last season at 1-0 was some of the if they were getting up, then they need to get back down. That was awful.
That one was just like old school.
Yeah.
It was
Guys, I think this is supposed to be one of our longest episodes.
Wow.
I'd like to, yeah, I would like to keep the discussions going, but we have to be mindful of time. Alex, it was really nice, having you on. We definitely need to have you back on sometime this season. And what I said, I wish your team all the best, but you already know how I feel about your team. So
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to be on. Thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it's always nice to just talk. Time flies by when you're talking ball with that.
yeah.
Fans, and I really appreciate you guys. All the best. Hey, look, we're gonna carry this title, 3 years in a row, and we have to go for it. Third time lucky.
We'll see.
We need
We will be here.
I hope he gives like us all of that luck because we need that luck. And, it's not enough. It's not enough to be good. You need luck sometimes.
Yeah,
Look
you
at
do.
Pep, man.
If you do.
Ortega doesn't make that save against Son. I mean, you can imagine. That's
Oh,
the
you thought that was a save, or someone was intentionally missing it?
bro, man.
It was a save, man. Stop slandering my boy's name. It was a save. Son missed the same chance against Arsenal. He was just washed, man.
He buried that, man. I would have gotten a Son jersey, man. Oh man. In fact, I would get a statue of some kind of stuff.
University view.
I'm telling you. Even Pep thought he had scored, man. You saw him, his heart was on the ground. I was in class that day. I was like,
Man City score another goal, even if Son equalizes. I think so.
there was still enough time. There was still enough time, but what you cannot account for would have been the pressure at the time of conceding that late.
But that's what
Feeling
they're
like,
built
oh
for.
my God.
That's what they're built for. That's what they're built for.
Yeah, but man, that chance was at the 87th minute.
No, 81st.
Was it 81st?
I don't
I think
remember.
it was around 85th or 6th. But the thing is, obviously they went down and scored a penalty after. So, they may have been able to do something. But at the time, the pressure, and you can imagine how loud the Tottenham Stadium would be at that time too.
No, it was
Some of the fans were
Yeah, I'm saying it was
quiet.
It was quite the whole game.
they were
No.
quiet. They were
If we would have scored, it would have got even more quiet because we would have been like, "Boo! What are you doing? Stop!"
I wish Liverpool were like that when we were going for the title, because Liverpool, they were competing with Man City for the title for so many years. They could have just let us go to Anfield, win the thing 2-0, 2-1. They didn't let us do it, and they handed the title to Man City. So I wish Liverpool fans were kind of like you guys, But that's why we love the
didn't
league.
care about City. We cared more about you guys not winning it.
Yeah, it's
But
man.
yeah, we will.
But
we will drag Alex back on for sure. Maybe
For sure.
for the North London Derby.
For sure, it'll be nice. Hopefully, you guys have gotten up to a good start of the season too. No injuries. I want you guys to be fit because I like the brand of football this guy is playing. It's very bold.
So you can come and pump us for. Of course, you like the brand that we're playing. That's the most space that Martinelli was.
32 game was very entertaining. It was one of the best games of the season to me.
It should have been 6-0. Let's be real.
But it could have been 4-4.
Shout out to David Raya because honestly, if we would have lost that game in embarrassing fashion, I would have been done with this coach. So David Raya, thank you for saving this coach's job because man, if not for that gift, I wouldn't even be on this show right now. If I would have held 6 from Arsenal, you know me. I have too much shame. I would have had to rebrand my whole account.
I mean, come on, man. You got
to go support Newcastle or something.
For most all the time. So it's
what do you mean all the time? Never. Arsenal don't do us like that. That's why we have one of the only good we have one of the few good rivalries left in England. Is because we don't allow ourselves to be humiliated the way United were just spreading yash for Liverpool whenever they come into town. We never do that.
What the
Even
way
when
they
we're really
spread yarns for City. Man, they've been, bro.
United,
I was,
they don't know rivalry.
and with the way they're looking, they're gonna spread Yansh again. Too soon. You know, they're gonna
Johnny
yes.
Evans and Casemiro. I can't wait.
Bro, why is
Can't
he
wait.
even still? He should just join the coaching staff, Johnny Evans. At this point, he really should just be part of it because he's 37 or whatever. Bro, the guy's old.
Yeah, I was surprised they gave him another contract.
They said you know what I loved, Adams, the caption when they announced him. They said more experience in the dressing room.
But I want one thing from you guys though. I want you guys top four. You know, come the end. What's your predicted top four
For Spurs?
Just quick take.
Oh, top four.
We're actually doing our predictions.
Yeah,
next
we
week.
don't-
we don't want to spoil this for the viewers.
Yeah, the prediction.
Next week is the predictions episode.
As long as you put Arsenal at the top of the list, you know, because
Alex,
that's our
tune
defense.
Tune in to next week's episode. You'll be.
Oh, I'll
pleasantly
definitely tune in.
surprised.
I'll definitely tune in. Look at our defense. Solid.
But yeah, let's
All right, guys.
let's actually wrap up 1 hour 45 minutes. Wow.
All right, boys. Man,
All right.
yeah. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget, guys, to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. See you guys in the next one. Bye.